Take 3.
But when you measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken. We just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout of thanks and appreciation first and foremost to new Patreon, Pablo Dela Cruz. Third take, still can't quite say it. Pablo Dela Cruz, thank you for joining after putting out a call to action to join Patreon if you'd like your name to be put in All Roads Lead to a Flat Earth. So massive shout out to Pablo, who did it almost immediately after I launched the video suggesting that this would be available to the public. So if indeed you are interested in having your name put inside All Roads Lead to a Flat Earth, then you can join at the I'd like to be in the book Patreon membership level. I think it's about 25 quid in order to do that. So join as a Patreon if you did want your name mentioning in the book. Also, massive shout out to Smith Tools and Purchase, Level Plain Poem, Vitali Z, Colton James, Survive the Spin, Thomas van der Zander, Measured Flat, Tiers Morgan, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Name's Burley, J Mel's 24, Unimento, Iron 26, Retro Bill, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, Chow Yun Cat, and Dank, whose names will also appear in an acknowledgement section of All Roads Lead to a Flat Earth as existing Patreon members at all tier levels. If indeed you have a lapsed membership to my Patreon and you rejoin at whatever tier it was you originally joined at, or whatever tier, like in fact if you're a previous Patreon member, you will also get your name mentioned in All Roads Lead to a Flat Earth. So if you happen to have been, that's past tense, my patron, and you'd like to have your name in the book, just rejoin and you'll have your name put in the book also. With that, though, I'm going to hand across, having done lots of thanks to my existing and hopefully future Patreon members. I'll hand over to whoever is in Discord and G+, so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Mad on. How freaking time.
I did 3 takes. I didn't know what... you've started a bit late, so the kids go out to it's not a group, it's just a play at the park on this particular time, like a play group that's on the side of the park. There's a community centre and they do it at the same time, 1:30. But that means that they're kind of overlapping with the time that I normally start. So as I'm pressing go and doing things, because at some points I just have a point of no return where I'm just going to start doing the show if I can, right? Obviously sometimes that isn't even the case, the computer's gone wrong or something, but that happened and Clover's still in the room running around with her pants on and I'm like, oh, this is stressful. Just grab your stuff and go. So then I had already pressed the record button and run the intro, so I'm a bit flabbergasted when I'm actually starting the intro. So I'll just do that again, take 2, which I've probably done 10 times in the number of years that I've been doing this show, right? I probably literally, you can count on, I wouldn't run out of fingers to count the amount of times I've done a second take, because I've messed something up. And then, you just get it done in the second go. Today is the first time ever I've done 3. So I did a take 1, a take 2, and I'm like, bloody hell, I've messed the second take up. That's unlike me. So I did a 3rd take for this intro so that I could shout out Pablo Dela Cruz. There you go. I said it perfectly when I wasn't thinking about it, for joining as a Patreon, because I've just put out a call to action to say if you did want to join as a Patreon, so you get your name in All Roads Lead to a Flat Earth, you can. There's a tier membership for that now, like as a reward. So until now, I've always done rewards that offer nothing. It's like you'll essentially get nothing, but essentially I'll get a burger out of you if you're giving me a £5 a month, for instance, or buy me a beer, I think it is, for a £5, or buy me a burger as a £10. And it's like, you essentially get nothing, I get to potentially get a burger. You know what I mean? It's those sorts of tiers. Whereas it's the first time I've offered a tier that actually has something attached to it as a benefit, and that is, getting your name bunged in the back of the book. So there you go. That's why I'm late.
Sounds good.
Well, loads of people had asked me, how can I get my name in the book? How much would it cost? And it's like, after about half a dozen people ask you, because after the first couple, you're like, oh, I'm flattered, but are you serious? You'd pay me to have your name in the book? You're like, I can't believe someone would pay for that. But fair enough. I'll, think about it. And I've always just gone, I'll think about it. But by about, I'll say, the half a dozen people that have asked me, it's not that many, but you're like, that's enough for me to turn it into money, and I need money. I want a new iPad. This one's a bit bust. Oh, that reminds me, Craig. The charger that my wife's laptop uses is a big chunky wall wart thing. I don't know if you can even hear me. Rather than changing components and taking this screen off, which is already cracked and will probably perish if I do, have you got a big Apple charger? A big wall wart? Watch if there's silence now, because he's nowhere near his computer.
It's Junior, I'm listening. What do you mean when you say a big... You mean like the wattage, you mean?
Yeah, so, you get like a little triangle-y USB-C iPad charger, and then you've got one that's two-piece that's quite slim. Well, then there's a third size that's really chunky that isn't a separate brick, but it is just, all of it's contained on the bit that goes onto the plug socket. But it's big because it's for a laptop. And that's the only charger that will charge the iPad. So rather than changing that component that you said pence, which I'm sure it is, I think the easier solution is to just get a charger that can work in the second location, which is right next to me now, which is where it's critically important if it runs out, like during a live show and I need to look something up on Google. Or more likely at the moment, look at my eBay status. Please sell, I need money. I've got like 20 items left on eBay. All of them I want to sell because I actually need the money from them now. But anyway, thanks to Patreon. But yeah, I just want that big wall wart if that's something you've got.
Do you mean the wall block that's got a USB-C port on the block, or you mean it with the molded cable?
No, it's on the block. It's got a USB port, like female, on the wall wart. But there's loads of them that have got that. It's only the massive one that my wife's laptop uses that works on this. Well,
the important thing to know is that USB-C has different voltages it can go through. If it's a rectangular USB-A port, that can only go to 5 volts. So, yeah, I wouldn't use anything that's only got a rectangular port on it. It's probably not going to like that.
No.
I have one of those Apple blocks, though. That 90-watt Apple block with the C female on it.
That's what I want. Yeah, I think my wife's... I'll double check, I should say. It's probably about that sort of value, because it's to power a not crap laptop from Apple, which I assume needs 90 watts, right?
Well, if you look at that Apple block that you're talking about, it says on it rated voltages 5, 9, 12, 15, and 20 volts. Depending on what device you plug into that block, it will tell the block I need 20. A Nintendo Switch would say I need 15. Your iPad can do charging on 5 volts and charging on 9 volts. So when you're saying I want a plug that has a USB-C port, it would suggest to me that your iPad only likes USB-C because it's going at 9 volts rather than 5.
No, because I've got other Apple certified USB-C wall warts, like power, whatever you call a wall wart, a power supply that goes into the plug. That with a USB that does not charge the iPad. I've got 2 of them. Neither of them will charge it. And they're both high capacity. One of them's the original one that the iPad was supplied with. It will not charge it. But the high-powered one for my wife's laptop will. I'll have a look.
That is very curious. Very curious. But yes, I have the block if you want one. That's no problem.
I'll come down and grab one, because the biggest pain in the arse is running it out during the day. And then when I sit in this seat, I'll be like, I'll just sit in the lounge, do something else while it's on charge. but then you want to grab it and use it. And I've got a 2-meter cable, which will work. All my cables work on that charger as well, so it's not the cable. But I'll come down and grab it. How much?
I don't know. The original ones, I've just got a couple knocking around out the back. You can come and grab one, mate. That's fine.
I don't mind paying for it because I know they're expensive. The original ones aren't cheap, so I don't mind paying for it. Anyway, just figure out how much it'll cost and I'll just buy it from you. Cool. That saves me a job because, in fact, I'd be glad to pay because I would have to have looked up on eBay. I asked my wife, "Oh, can you find me one that's the same as your laptop?" She's like, "Not easily, no." And after about 20 minutes of research, she's like, "I found this one, but I'm not sure it's genuine." And as soon as you hear those words, you're like, "Oh, so it's not just as easy as I want a genuine one." Now, I'm sure it is if you want to part with 100 quid. It's Apple. So I don't. So, whatever you want to charge me, I'll be delighted to pay.
I'll sort you out, mate. No stress.
Excellent. Cool. I'll pop down now. It's 10 to the hour and we're doing a live show shortly, but groovy.
But you should use the ether to charge it, Nathan.
Did you say groovy?
Use the ether.
The 3 ether we've got. Just
that
use that to
reminds
charge
me. Yeah, I'm putting out mixed messages to some of the people who are potentially loyal supporters of the show, and they're having their nose put out of joint. And initially I poo-pooed them like, you just conspiratards. Well, I read out one of the messages yesterday. Do you remember it just before we parted company? I don't think it made it to one of the recordings. But I read out one of the guy's messages. Stony silence was the response. But I reread his message on the live show from yesterday, and there was one aspect I could have pointed out and gone, you're just conspiratorial. But I reread it and went, no, you've actually got a point. I'll see if I can dig that message out. What his sentiment was you're saying it's not important. But if people realise it's flat, their entire paradigm changes. And the guy's not wrong, or girl, I can't remember which gender. But regardless, they're right. And I'm thinking about it. I was trying to explain this to played so heavy on my mind, I went and discussed it with my wife. I was like, this is the problem I'm having. For people to accept this information, it has to be regarded as nonchalant, inconsequential almost. That's to say, you could shrug your shoulders and go, yeah, I always knew it was flat, like sea level and that, right? That is to say, it's a level of indifference you can offer to the information for it to be easily acceptable to a woman, right? That's my standard. I don't care if anybody calls me prejudiced. I'm not. Just saying women and men are different. The standards that they hold are different, and therefore the standard I'm appealing to in this regard is a woman. Now, it may universally apply to both sexes. That's not my point. I'm just saying that for it to be universally accepted, the route often is into an acceptance from women where there is none currently, like with other subject matters, which we won't cover now, right? So in order to achieve that, you have to treat it with a level of nonchalance, if that's the correct terminology, an ability to shrug your shoulders at it like it's not even that big a deal. However, as the commenter points out, you're then in a position where if that was the case, everybody's paradigm has fundamentally changed. Even though it's from a mental point of view, the entire world, because of the subject itself, flat Earth, has changed. So it's a paradox of sorts. How can you get somebody to treat something as nonchalant and indifferent when it fundamentally changes their world? Yeah? And having to put that to my wife, how long we got? 10 minutes. Yeah, I'll go over it now. She gave me the example of our two daughters, right? One of them's old enough to know that Santa isn't real and just, being on the jape, and the other isn't. So we can nod to the one about how Santa isn't real, but it needs to be maintained as being real to a certain imaginatory state in the eyes of your sister. So the Santa isn't real, but we want to kind of keep it alive was the way that my wife described it, as having, for Eleanor, the elder one, two states of mind at the same time. In one state of mind, she understands implicitly Santa isn't real. In the other state of mind, she understands that she must imagine that he is real and play along with him being real. Yeah, it's not cognitive dissonance, it's just awareness. Yeah, it's not holding opposing views at the same time, because one is fundamentally understood to be the case and the other is understood fundamentally to not be the case, whilst maintained verbally. Yeah? For the sake of building an imagination in the younger daughter. So the elder daughter's position on it was how she was trying to explain that I need to communicate to the audience, or the consistent audience, that this is to be viewed. That is to say, from your perspective, yes, you are correct. I understand that you're going to be annoyed when I downplay how fundamental a paradigm shift, everybody appreciating that the world is not a globe and the world is actually measured flat, is. But simultaneously, in order for that to ever be manifest, you must sort of keep it quiet and go, yeah, but don't make a big deal about it. Yeah, the world's going to have a fundamental paradigm shift. But if you make a big deal of it, you'll undermine that ever actually being manifested into reality. So you've got to kind of know that it's important, know that Santa isn't real, but simultaneously say that it is. Yeah? So you've got to know that there's going to be a paradigm shift, that there's going to be a massive change in people's reality if they all appreciated how flat the world's measured, but simultaneously say that it doesn't matter. Yeah? Kind of be nonchalant about it, even though deep down you appreciate and understand, and like with Fight Club, you just don't mention it, that, yeah, by accepting this and going, yeah, I always knew it was flat, that you're ushering in a fundamental paradigm shift.
I was just thinking, that's a good comparison, because when you find out Santa's not real, you begin to have an appreciation for your parents, because the gifts you got, it's all coming from your parents. So when you come to realization that Earth is measured flat, you can appreciate God's creation.
Yeah. It's
not a big bang, right? It's not just come by happenstance.
what did I write down the other day? Something similar to this. I don't know what I was going.
You know what I'm saying, though, right? One deck? Because
Yeah.
maybe before you didn't realize that, you could be an atheist, could be those people that think nature, it's all nature. And then when you realize, hold on a second, it's not a globe, the Earth is flat, and we're contained, you start to have an appreciation for the Creator, and you want to know this Creator.
Hmm. But I can't get my words out. What did I write down? It was something like it was something to do with an elevation angle. It was something like you can't change the elevation angle to suit your belief, to reduce your psychological relief, something like that. So I was sort of on them lines with it, like at the end of the day, an elevation angle is an elevation angle. It won't change. You might want it to change to suit your belief and to reduce your psychological, give you psychological release sort of thing. That's all that's doing. When you find out that the Earth's flat, it is flat. It's measured flat. There's nothing you can do. What's happening is you're having a psychological issue at that point. It's not a physical, a geometry issue. It's a psychological issue you're having.
Yeah, you can't change what an elevation angle does, right? It measures Earth flat.
Yeah, but they do try and change it to suit the belief. Yeah, and that gives them psychological release. I think I just wrote, it came into my head that the other day for some reason. I thought I might write a poem with that at some point.
Yeah, because they don't want to relinquish their belief in Santa Claus. So, with Santa Claus, anything is possible. Even though you don't have a chimney, he can still come down and give you gifts. That elevation angle could be measured as a globe.
Yeah, that's where we are. Not that we're not arguing about it anymore or debating, but you'll still find these globe believers saying that they have actually measured the globe by measuring elevation angles. I commented on a Toon thing last week, and his reply to me was, that was his reply. I have measured the globe using elevation angles. So,
Now that's a little contradictory to me. Because an elevation is an elevation, right? An angle is an angle, right? So where does globe fit in there?
Well, it's in your belief, because you have to change what an elevation angle is to suit your belief, to give you psychological release, or you're just lying on purpose. One or the other.
You could take a beach ball and measure it, right? However you do it, you measure it, and you can have the dimensions of that beach ball, right? And when you read the dimensions, you will recognize that it's spherical. So where's the dimensions for the spherical globe? All I see is flat measurements.
That's not what they're actually talking about when they say that they can measure angles, say, when they describe getting that as the curve measurement. They're talking about the curve of the protractor. So I don't know if has that got a name? So if you look at a protractor, you've got the angle that you're measuring through the numbers on the protractor, but the protractor itself has a curve to it. I wonder if that curve of the protractor itself has a particular definition, like the name of that curve on the protractor specifically, that you measure the angles through. Like, is it termed as the... I was going to say arc.
It don't matter. It's still measuring it spherically, right? That's what they say.
No, because your measurement is the two lines that intersect at a vertex point. That's what an angle is if you describe how you measure it. So when you convolute the measurement through the two straight lines that meet at a vertex and describe that measurement as the curve of the protractor, as one deck just said, that could be the arc, and confusing the arc used in the measurement tool with the angle you're actually measuring. So it's a convolution when they say, well, you're saying you can't measure an angle of the globe with theodolite for the sake of argument, and you go, well, no, what you're convoluting or misunderstanding is the difference between the arc of the curve of the tool and the straight lines that you actually measure in the angle acquisition. So the angle acquisition has a number, that's the measurement, and that measurement is of the two lines at an intersect point, not the curve that the protractor measures it through. That's the arc of the curve, or whatever the terminology is for that particular arc on a protractor.
But that's true. But they also try and bring it back to a circle. And is it what are the sections of what's the section of a circle called? What an angle in is it a radian, or is that the wrong?
I think it is. There's a whole bunch of different terms. So in terms of arc minutes and radians and all these sorts of different terminologies, I just want to know what the specific arc that you form all of the measurement potentials, all the numbers that run through it. That's probably got a terminology.
I'm going to try and Google it.
How are you?
I'm really delighted. As soon as I put that video out, Pablo joined. I'm like, woohoo! That was definitely worth it then.
I got a question about that.
Go ahead.
Now, does that mention mean the cover of the book as like co-author, or just the name in the back?
It'll be in an acknowledgement section. Obviously, you won't get named as a co-author, as it's my book, Neil. But no, you just get a little acknowledgement with your name.
Is there a price for that? That's what I'm fishing for.
What are you fishing for?
Is there a price? Like, can somebody buy their way in to be an author?
Yes, I've just
and
said
get
it.
their name
20
on the cover?
Not to be an author, to be mentioned, it's 25 quid. And I think that's a reasonable amount to ask. I mean, the main thing I want is the ongoing patronage, which is to say that it gives me an income source that's continual. So I said this in the video that I put out. It's like, if I just said, okay, 100 quid, and then someone just handed me 100 quid and I put their name in the book, that's kind of meaningless, you know, even if it was 1,000. It's like, well, what does it mean? It doesn't mean anything, right? I mean, thank you very much for the £100, but it's just a one-off donation. Whereas the first people that should be getting acknowledged, realistically speaking, are the people that have kept the lights on all this time. And those are my patrons. Now, obviously, there's memberships and people join that so that they can get the Uncut and After Show. There are certain benefits to being a member, like the badges as your name goes by and getting the early release videos and shorts and things, right? Patreon is just there to keep the lights on. So all of the tiers are like, you buy me a beer, you get nothing. You buy me a burger, you essentially get zero. Those are the sorts of tiers that I've put together, right? Now, this is the first time I've been able to put a tier together that I say, here's something you can actually have from me from Patreon. So, but the people who've given me that money have just literally given it because they want to keep the lights on. They want to keep the show going. So it's like, well, they're the first people that should actually get acknowledged, right? If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here, right? I certainly wouldn't be running the kids around to art lessons and things like that, right? My wife pays for all the food and for all the lessons. I pay for the mortgage and the electricity and keep the lights on and the roof over our heads. Well, that is directly paid for by people on Patreon. Now, the ad revenue obviously helps, but it's nowhere near enough to keep the lights on. It's just, you know, it's a pittance by comparison to what is required to keep a mortgage paid. So, you know, I'm so grateful to all of the people on Patreon. And as regulars know, I've been shouting it out recently, going, you know, I want to increase my patronage, and, you know, leaning into Eric DeBay, shouting out his Patreon and just asking people to join because he's poor. I thought, well, I'll do the same. Well, it didn't generate anybody. Nobody joined as a result of me occasionally mentioning that it'd be great if I had a few more Patreons. But me saying, you can have your name mentioned in the book, instantly Pablo joined. I'm like, wicked. You know, it wasn't just words when half a dozen people said, I'd like to have my name in the book. How much would it cost me to achieve that? I'm like, I don't know. Ask me when it's closer to the book being complete. Well, now we are. Like, we've got one chapter left to do, which we will do today, or at least start on. You go, well, I should really be thinking about those things. And I'm coincidentally asking people to join me on Patreon. Oh, what a happy coincidence. Let's kill two birds with one stone and ask people for the funds via that particular means. And then it keeps me, you know, ticking in the money. So with Pablo, thank you very much indeed. He just paid up front for a year, which means that money trickles into me each month and, you know, keeps the lights on. So I'm delighted that it's instantly bred a little bit of success, because people like to hear that. Everyone loves a good news story. So there we go. Thank you. Thank you so much, Pablo. I really appreciate it. If you're out there listening, which I'm sure you will.
You got 19 days before Easter, but today's St. Paddy's Day. Do you guys celebrate that in England, or is that just an American thing?
Oh, what? Sorry?
St. Paddy's Day.
Yeah, there's been
No, we don't have that.
Yeah,
Here.
there's been celebrations in. There were celebrations in Manchester over the weekend, because I went into Manchester and they had parades on, the roads were shut. It took me bloody ages to get to where I wanted to go, and I thought it was St. Paddy's Day over the weekend, but it's actually today, I think.
Yeah, today's St. Patrick's Day in America, and I was just wondering if it's something in Ireland, or is that just an American thing? Because he was Italian, really.
It's the patron saint of Ireland.
Listen, Neil. And it doesn't matter. Anything, any excuse for a pint of Guinness, mate.
It's very much an Irish thing. Yeah.
But it didn't just originate from America. It's in Ireland, too.
It is specifically the patron saint of Ireland.
Yeah, that don't mean anything. The Irish could ignore that. What do you think? That matters?
Well, they don't.
So it originated in Ireland, and it branched out to America when they came over.
It's like anything that's been Americanized, right? If you're Irish, and I'm not Irish, but I can definitely speak for Irish people. I've known enough Irish people to speak on their behalf in this regard. If you're Irish, right, and it's St. Patrick's Day, number one, you're probably drunk anyway, so that's not going to change, right? But number two, you might wear a bit of green or a green scarf if it's cold, right? Because it's Paddy's Day. But you won't do anything elaborate. You won't dye your frickin' river green, you know what I mean? But the Yanks, they go absolutely overboard for it. But, you know,
Yeah.
the Irish definitely celebrate St Patrick's Day, and they might have an extra Guinness, but like I say, they're generally drinkers anyway.
My wife makes green chocolate chip cookies, and she's Guyanese.
There's an Irish guy who's very popular that covers food, and he put it well. He went, "We might put on a green T-shirt." That's how he put it.
I know going to school, going to Catholic school, we had to wear something green on St. Patrick's Day. Whether you put on a green tie or a green shirt or a green scarf, whatever, but you had to wear something green. And if you didn't, you wound up in the principal's office.
I mean, the dweebs we encounter do all right when they just wear the regular T-shirt they wipe their noses on.
It's green enough.
Hey Nathan, you might have heard it, but just going back to what you were saying, and this is what I wrote down. You've probably heard it, but I wrote it down, and it fits in with what's happening at the moment. Like, at the end of the day, Earth's measured flat. You're not going to change that, but you might have some difficulty in your mind once you come to that point. And I wrote this down the other day, and I thought I'm going to write a poem on this, but I've not wrote the poem. But it was, you can't change an elevation angle to suit your belief in order to reduce your psychological relief. Something along them lines I wrote down. But that fits in, doesn't it, quite well with what's going on at the moment. They try and change the meaning. We've seen it for a while now. They try and change the definitions of horizontal level, elevation angle. You can't do that. It is what it is. That's how Earth's measured. But they try and change these things to fit in with this globe belief and to reduce their psychological relief.
It's a square circle.
Yeah.
It's not, again, you're mixing these terms now. I hate to jump on you. Yes, one deck. But we're in the pre-show, we're talking about, there's potentially a term for this. Arc was the closest we could come to, right? If you've got a hemispherical protractor with 90, 0, 180, right? And all the way through the arc of the protractor, you've got the numbers that you can, that's a potential future tense, measure through on that arc. When you take a measurement, so if we take the 90 degrees as the measurement through the protractor, you've got the arc being misrepresented as the measurement. The measurement is the two straight lines meeting at a vertex, in this instance, that's got a little box with the label 90. At the box, it doesn't have to be labelled at that point or that point, but the totality of potential measurements on that protractor has an arc to that potential measurement. But the tool that you can measure with and the arc that the tool has isn't the two straight lines of the angle measurement when using the protractor. So what our globe proponents in potential or claim to be opposition do is claim that the arc of the protractor is the arc of the world you are stood on. That's how the magic trick of turning elevation angle measurements into a curved surface works. It's a conversion from degrees from the equatorial plane to degrees through a sphere. Thank you, whoever ruined that point.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nathan. I just wanted to say you've got a really good point, because I've just had a look at it, and it's actually that outer point of the protractor is called a curved edge. So it's referenced as curved. And that's what they're referring to when they talk about we can measure curve. And that's what it's called, the outer edge of the protractor. Sorry to have interrupted you.
That's all right. It's the curved edge of the protractor isn't the measurement. It's the curved edge of the tool with all of the different numbers that you could potentially measure with the tool. But the measurement is, when describing an angle specifically, the two straight lines that meet at a vertex. That's what an angle is. And if you are measuring an angle, that's what the angle measurement is. There is no curve involved in the measurement, only in the tool. But we have the assertion that you can measure the curve with the angle measuring tool. You're like, well, no, you can derive curves You can calculate whatever you like, might be sphericity, but the measurement is two straight lines meeting at a vertex. That's what an angle is. And when it comes to measuring Earth's surface with elevation angles, elevation forms the baseline. And the angle is complete with a vertex when you draw an imaginary line up to a star or the sun. That's what an elevation angle measurement is. But this is the measurement. That is not the measurement. Not the curve of the protractor, but the two straight lines that meet at a vertex.
Yes, well said.
Right, there's a point of business. So while I don't go out of my way to offend my own audience, right, there is a certain level of detachment that I am seeking from a conspiratorial faction of my audience that I am not sad to see go. But there is another corner of the audience that's just realistic, regardless of their unified path to this subject from conspiracy, which I'm included in. And one particular individual commented under yesterday's live show. I can't remember his name or her name to give them credit, but they'll know who I am. They know who they are, sorry, when I talk about what they said. And that's that I'm putting out a bit of a mixed message. When I say it's no big deal, we don't have any influence over it, you'll still have to pay your mortgage, those sorts of sentiments are me suggesting that the notion of Earth being flat is a shrug of your shoulder worthy endeavour, that it's not that big a deal, you still have to pay your mortgage, echoing the sentiments, first and foremost, of our opponents when they ask us the same question 10 years ago. Well, what difference does it make if it's flat or a globe? I still have to pay my mortgage tomorrow. While that sentiment can be echoed and mirrored back from our own perspective, to say that contradicts the fact this commenter was putting down, which is that fundamentally, just clear my throat. Fundamentally, there's a paradigm shift if the world recognises that it's not spherical and, in fact, as measured, flat. That cannot be denied. That is a literal change in paradigm. And when that paradigm's described in the context of the subject matter, it's a world change. So you have a world-changing paradigm if people accept that Earth is measured flat. But in paradoxical contrast, I'm saying it's no big deal. That's a very mixed and convoluted message to put across. So how can I achieve this other than taking you to one side and going, look, I understand that you are correct in your assertion that if everybody universally understood that Earth is measured flat, which it is anyway, regardless of us having this conversation, appreciating it or not, then the whole world would change from one worldview to another worldview. So you are correct. There is a fundamental paradigm shift potentially on the horizon. But...
Wow. Sorry, but I've been saying this for the longest time. Now it's a thing?
I haven't finished. But, by contrast, at the same time, you've got the fact that you recognising Earth being flat, as I just said 2 minutes ago, doesn't change how it's ultimately measured anyway. Therefore, to get acceptance from a woman, that's not being prejudiced, it's just stating facts. Women would rather have something that is easier to comprehend and less intense and combative than men who will happily fight and argue about things. But if you can take the reality and the actual circumstances, which is that it is just measured flat anyway, that is factual information, then it can be met potentially with a shrug of the shoulders, as in, I already knew that. What, like with sea level? Yeah, I already knew we had sea level. Therefore, it can be dealt with in a nonchalant way. Now, the fact that if everybody had that nonchalant attitude to the reality of how flat Earth is measured, then as a whole, societally, there would, ipso facto, be a fundamental world-changing paradigm shift. Those two things are both paradoxical and mutually inclusive. And in order for one to manifest the other, the first has to not interfere with the second. The first being that we must recognise that nothing much changes, that elevation angles were already being used anyway, that horizontal linear distances were always the order of the day and will will and can never change, that you always can only have flight level parallel with surface level, that perpendicularity is how measured height and altitude is applied to sea level for an overall Earth-based altitude. That is factual information that's inconsequential to your understanding of it, my understanding of it. It's only useful in practical application, and practical application is what all of those flat Earth facts already are being utilised with. So you can put this to next man in a shrug your shoulders nonchalant way and understand simultaneously that if this person accepted it as having always been the case, because it is and was always the case anyway, then that could lead to the fundamental paradigm shift that I'm trying to suppress by saying, if you make a big deal of this and go, oh my God, the whole world's changed, then someone will go, oh shit, I don't know. No, that might cost the jobs that I'm fear-bombed with when they tell me that if I recognise this flat earth worldview change, then the world stops turning, everyone flies off it, people die and jobs are lost. And suddenly it all seems like there's a gravity to it that's monumental, that stops people, I use the example of women, who want to make their nests comfortable and raise kids in it, as opposed to fight about a worldview that's going to cost lives and jobs, which is what putting it into the second category of, oh my God, there's a huge worldview change, will do. So in spite of them being seemingly incompatible, I'm trying to square that circle and go, the only way I can see a manifestation of the paradigm change is by getting people to recognise how it was always measured flat anyway, and you can legitimately shrug your shoulders, acknowledge that you knew there was a sea level, and point out the fact you've still got to pay your mortgage. Therefore go, oh, it doesn't matter, it's not like my world's going to stop. I've still got to pay my mortgage, and I knew there was sea level anyway, so, I mean, what difference does it really make? Well, none, so let's get on with my day. Now, everybody doing that all at once, then ipso facto, you've had that paradigm change. So it's a bit like when, with my eldest daughter, she recognises that Santa's not real. That's the reality of the situation. But she also simultaneously recognises that my youngest daughter is building her imagination, building up that part of her brain currently at that particular young fledgling age. So she has to maintain that illusion of Santa Claus whilst simultaneously recognising a reality where Santa Claus isn't real. So for you, it's like me tapping you on the shoulder and going, look, you're right. I don't want to demean you when you say, how can you say there won't be a paradigm change when that is fundamentally the case if everyone recognises that the Earth is obviously observably measured flat, because it is, then their paradigm changes, their worldview changes. That can't be denied. I'm like, yes, but if you say that with too high an upward inflection, you'll scare next man. So just recognise the reality that it's always flat and offer it to somebody in a palatable way where they can say, yeah, I always knew that was the case. It's not like sea level's been hidden from us. So hopefully that sort of dulls the blow of me saying we're no big deal, it doesn't make any difference, stop sniffing your own farts and thinking that you're Mr. Special because you're telling people something that's going to change their worldview. They'll still have to pay the mortgage tomorrow. I'm going to try and detach them into those two separate categories. Yes, there's a reality that will fundamentally change if everyone appreciates it flat, but simultaneously you must recognise that that was always the case legitimately, and people will still have to pay their mortgages, and they don't necessarily have any bearing upon it unless once that worldview takes hold, because everyone shrugged their shoulders, and when I knew that was the case anyway, people start going, well, maybe I can improve on the calendar, improve on the time structure, improve on epicycles and retrograde motion, and make the observations work in a mathematical way that will somehow benefit us. Maybe people will go to those endeavours that don't require the out-of-the-box thinking from 500 years ago that put us on a spinning ball flying through a sky vacuum. Now, long ago, 6 months, we were trying to tell people they weren't on that spinning ball. But that spinning ball comes from the same flat Earth measurements that were being used anyway. All roads lead to a flat Earth. Another reason to shrug your shoulders. If someone says, well, it's got to be a ball because retrograde motion, orbital motion. You're like, yeah, I mean, those flat Earth derivations of elevation angle measurements to the lights in the sky off a flat Earth do create this paradigm that you can believe in. I'm not saying you can't. That's a lot more of a softened blow and for me, I don't care if you want to be on your ball in the way I phrase it, attitudes that can usher in that world change, that paradigm shift, that fundamental alteration in the very world that you thought you lived on. Now I'm done, Neil.
No, I was just saying, and now it's all of a sudden it's a thing because somebody else said it. I've been saying it's a paradigm shift for the longest time. No, it's not. Now it is. Okay, it is. Doesn't matter. When you come to the acknowledgement and you accept it for what it is a paradigm shift in your life.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, you could, if you could sit someone else, say, I'm going to tell you something now, and it might be a big deal for you. You might not be able to handle it, right? The Earth's measured flat. This is the evidence I can show you. That's the way it's always been. It's down to that person and how they're going to deal with that, really, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's part of heliocentrism that it's been measured flat.
Say that again, John.
It is part of heliocentrism that it is measured flat.
That's correct.
Yeah, you can't deny these premises, otherwise you're between the rock and the hard place. But for us, it's kind of an ignorance of the people that put themselves there. It's like you feel free to exercise your cognitive dissonance pain elsewhere, because I don't really want to engage in that anymore. Like, I understand fundamentally that you require flat Earth measurements for your heliocentric belief. You don't have to like it. And if you don't like it, get lost. Don't turn around and report me to the police or try and have my kids taken off me because you don't like how flat Earth must be measured for your belief.
But like we've said it before, I've said it a few times on this. When we, like John's just said there, we know that. Now we can easily say, well, for your globe, you need a flat Earth elevation angle measurement, right? But when we've been through these, and Nathan's give the spiel, pardon me saying that, Nathan, when you go through it about the surface level, eye level, depression angles, and that is how you get that. If you've never heard that before, that's like, what the hell are these guys talking about? It sounds ridiculous. You know what I mean? To a newbie sort of person or somebody just getting into it, that sounds absolutely absurd.
I mean, maybe, but if you contrast that with something that we actually get in the subject matter, like there was giant trees made of silicon, or that there's a Mandela effect that's altered a fundamental made-up timeline in a fourth dimension, you're like, does this seem like a stretch? We got measurements of a flat plane and then converted them by way of calculations into sphericity. That doesn't seem like that big a stretch compared to the timeline of the Berenstein Bears has changed. You're like, what? He always had a silver leg.
Well, you're right there, Nick. You got a really good point, and we've spoken about this before. Yeah, it's it's so difficult to understand an elevation angle from sea level, measuring latitude, but they haven't got a problem with the bending of space time in a fourth dimension. That's just, what's the problem with that? I think is what you're saying.
Exactly. You've incorporated a globe extension of what I was doing. I was actually taking the conspiratard flat earther approach to it with the silicon trees and the Mandela effect. But, whatever crazy conspiracy a flat earther is going to offer you, it's going to be tame when you try and explain to them that, no, the derivation of flat earth measurements is what produced the globe. That seems tame by comparison. Same goes for a contrasting fourth dimensional pseudo-Riemannian space-time geometry. You're like, you believe what? Oh, no, you didn't know that you believe that. Most of the people who are watching this and on the ball side won't know that they believe that. They are a vague acceptance of Einstein that they probably are reasonably familiar with. But when you say gravity to them, they don't think of the bending and warping of a fourth dimensional space-time dimension that's been extrapolated out into string theory. They think of downward vectors with respect to a plane of reference they don't know they're using. Equally as absurd. Much more accepted.
I still think it's a major paradigm shift, and it's going to cause problems. No matter how gently you want to make this landing, you want to put it on pillows, you want to put it on feathers, doesn't matter. It's a shift in the paradigm that we're in now. Things will happen. People will lose jobs. People will demand from the schools why their children are being taught a certain way. It's not like they're being taught. They're being taught that they live on a globe and it's flat. That's
Cats
a big
and dogs
freaking thing.
living together. Total chaos.
Not total chaos. A total demand of why this has been going on for how many years it's been going on.
They're taught it's flat,
Well,
too.
That was down to the Anunnaki keeping the human people prisoners in the middle pond, and telling them that they had to tell other people that they lived on a globe.
No.
Otherwise, they would
The government bodies have a way of...
And then when Christendom gets a hold of it, forget about it. They're going to want freaking answers.
Well, the answers that they get
answers.
will take the same format. I can't remember which movie I got this from, but there was an explanation for this for a transitioning head of a company, right? And he takes the board of directorship or the MD role, whatever it is, right? And he arrives in his desk, and there's 2 letters from the old boss on the desk. And it's explained to him that the first sign of trouble, open the first letter. And when there's more trouble, open the second letter. So it doesn't take long, 3 months into the job, major problem hits. And he's like, he has nowhere to turn, he doesn't know what to do, and he gets 2 letters. So he finds letter 1, opens it, and inside the letter it says, blame everything on me. And he goes, why? Chucks it in the bin. Goes on the news, blames everything on the old boss. Works like a charm, right? Everything goes on as normal. Everyone blames the old boss. Perfect. Moves forward another 6 months. Another catastrophe hits. He goes, oh, what am I going to do? I've got to run out of options. Second letter. So it goes into the drawer. Opens the second letter. It says, you need to sit down and write 2 letters.
So that's the answer. They're going to blame it on the people before them.
Yep.
Okay. So now they're going to want change. What's the first thing that they're going to put together? They're going to put together that, hold on a second, so everything is not charted then. Because this globe no longer exists. What are you hiding from us? Land, maybe?
Oh no, what am I going to do? I speak to you, the people, when I say, I've got this questions. I've got 2. I've got those questions. Is there more land? Well, I don't know. The guy before me, he probably knew. Bastard.
Okay, I'm going to read something from the chat because this measured chunk guy is at it again. You perfectly know Nathan just plugs ears and ignores issues. He can't address it, or he would have without reciting measured flat. So what do you want us to address? See, the puppies can't see. So he's just insulting us. So what do you want us to address? And I got a better idea for you.
Whoa. Why did he insult us? What did he... Hold on. What did he do to insult us?
He said, see, the puppies can't see how an error in their claim is
Okay, so he's calling us puppies.
Their claims are wrong.
Ban him immediately, right? I've said this on previous shows, right? I even put out a shorts video about this, which is say, oh, you're a pleasant person that I'd enjoy spending time with. Oh, of course I'll discuss Flat Earth with you. It'd be a pleasure. I love talking about this subject. It's a fantastic subject. I love it. What's that? You want to tell me that I'm wrong and I owe you answers and you're running away from me, you little puppy? Go away, you're an unpleasant person. No, I will make a new account and you will submit to my questions. No, you're a deeply unpleasant person. I wouldn't want to spend any time in your company. You're unpleasant. Go away. No, I can create accounts or piss off. You, in reality, would have your teeth knocked out, wouldn't you? That's why you're here. We've told you, get lost. Now, you feel that we owe you answers. No. Go away. You are a deeply unpleasant, bull-believing clown, and we wouldn't want to spend any time in your company. Now, if you want to pleasantly discuss the flat earth prerequisites you are entitled to retain for your ball, no longer will I say don't use our stuff when you use flat earth elevation angles, surface level, horizontal linear distance measurements, directionality. I won't tell you not to use those. You are welcome to use the flat earth measurements to believe you are on a ball, so long as you're pleasant to be around. Otherwise, go away. Now, if you persist, it becomes harassment. Just criminal endeavours by scummy dweebs. You must answer me because I'm in pain and I think I'm on a ball. You're allowed to believe you're on a ball. Nobody's stopping you. But that's not good enough. I don't care what's good enough. We don't owe you any answers. Now, if you're polite and pleasant, you can discuss these things with us in a polite and pleasant manner. But when you start yelling at us that we must answer you and insisting by repeatedly harassing us, hanging around, you're just like the ex-wife who parks a car at the end of the drive and won't go away. Eventually, she will, if she doesn't comport to what the policeman tells her, get dragged out of that window after he smashes it with his baton. Right? That's you. Now, if you want to be that bitch, then fine. Eventually, it will result badly for you. Now, me, it's not unreasonable, and for Neil, and anybody else in this arena for that matter, it's not unfair to want a reasonable life where you're not subject to adenoidal, moany little twats making demands. That's you right now, sir. Now, underneath the surface of a pleasant demeanour, like the guy who came on the show after taking a brave pills after about half an hour of silence, he wanted to call me and Neil closet homosexuals. Yeah? Said that we were jerking each other off in the half an hour of silence while I was testing my graphics card. That's because right under the surface, he hates us. And so does this guy. He despises us. The feeling's mutual. I hate you. And why would I spend any time answering the questions of a man I hate? Why do I hate you? Because you're deeply unpleasant and easily hateable. So get lost.
This is going to make you even more mad. He has issues not with us. He has issues with Jay Tolan failed badly. Seems we need to first out them on a globe so they actually match what you see. We have nothing to do with Jay Tolan, and we don't debunk a globe, right? We're contrary to that.
Let's just reiterate the point, Neil. No. When you say, no, we hate you. You, in person, would be told politely with a smile, can you go away now? You've become unpleasant and nobody wants to be around an unpleasant person. Oh, you still here? No, go away. Oh, you've come back with a beard and a hat. Okay, well, I'll say it politely for a third time. Go away. You're unpleasant. Nobody likes being around you. Now you won't get away. Well, that's threatening. Now I feel justified in beating the living piss out of you in person. Why? Because you feel that it's necessary to be intimidating, threatening, menacing, not going away when you've been asked politely repeatedly. Now, people who are pleasant, they get other people's time. They get answers when they ask questions. They get to discuss topics. You represent 10 years or 12 years or however long I've been doing this of people telling me I should jump off buildings, be arrested by the police. Got Mr. Sensible, he's got videos, go and check, where he reports me to the police. You think I want to engage with him? You are like Mr. Sensible, someone who under the surface wants to call me a homosexual and say I'm stroking Neil's cock. Yeah? Right under the surface of being polite for somebody who came on the show and verbally wanted to discuss how south isn't horizontal because you're delusional. No, you're deeply unpleasant people who we wouldn't want to be around. Why would we? So we tell you, get lost, and you go, no, I can make more accounts and harass you indefinitely. Like, really? Haven't you got any friends? People that like being around you? And the answer to that question is no. Most people, probably including your own family, don't like being around you. That's why you found your way here, so you can express that unpleasant persona to us. Like you're justified. Like societally it's okay to demand something of a YouTuber who talks about how Earth gets measured and being reasonable in the way you demand it. No. Now I'm done being polite. Get lost. Now, if you can't get lost, we'll start insisting on getting names and addresses from you. Yeah? When people say, oh, you're doxing them. No, I want to report these people to the police. That's what I want to do. It's happened to me. It's documented like it's a badge of honour to report a fellow YouTuber to the police. Okay, if that's how you feel justified because you believe you're on a bleeding ball that's using flat Earth measurements, then that's fine for you. Me, I'm being told that we should fear you. Oh, you're scared. Okay, yeah, in society, when people are scared of you, I'll add the third, you either fight, flight, or freeze. Well, I'm not for one for freezing, and I've told you to go away. I'm retreating from you and asking you politely to disembark your endeavours, and you won't. Yeah, societally, that's where if you were in person with somebody, when they feel threatened, that's when you've cornered the dog, and it bites you. You don't seem to be getting the metaphor. Because you're here online where you must be to live out this persona, to live out this horrible person that isn't liked in the real world. No. I'm not for tolerating this anymore. And in the country I am in the UK, there are internet laws to stop people just like you for this sort of harassment online. It's not tolerated in the UK anymore. In other countries it is. We're a lot more strict here. The police literally will beat your door down and drag you out. Metaphorically speaking. They'll knock politely and then take you to a cell and question about your internet activities, harassing others. Now I'm saying, metaphorically, you get a smack in the mouth. Literally, I'm just going to ask for your address. That's what I'll do. Yeah? If you don't stop harassing us. Now, when you call us puppies, claim we're homosexuals, suggest we should have our kids taken off us, call the police on us, for what? For what? Talking about how flat Earth is measured, how we should be going out and getting J-toll and median measurements to match with what you suggest. No, those days are over. Not only are they over, I'm doing it in a white flag held high way. Have your ball. I'm not going back on it like Jaron. I'm saying you, with your ball based on your requirement for flat Earth measurements, will be tolerated by me. Everyone's entitled to their belief. You want to believe you're on a ball? Be my guest. You can even use my flat Earth measurements to get you there. You're welcome.
Well said, Nathan. And I can't remember last time I've spoke to anybody and, talking about the geography and the geometry of Earth, who you can have a decent conversation with, talk about elevation angles, sea level, straight and level flight, mapping elevation profiles from sea level, and just discuss this and point and show these people how it's actually done without getting into a feud or, ad hominem attacks and argumentative states. But like you say, you're right, Nathan. If he wants to live on the ball, and that's fine. Just keep your ball. Go and do something else. You don't have to be on here. Just keep your ball and get on with your life. See you later.
I feel like you're letting them use your lawnmower to mow their yard, just as long as they put it back in your garage.
Yeah, the metaphorical.
Say, but you will change the world. You will ruin everything what is good now.
Say again.
It is easy to say, Divergent, go somewhere else, but he wants to protect, because flat earthers, what will happen if flat earthers take the power? Man, everything will change. Everything will ruin. You will have wars. You will have corruption.
I see what you mean. What Sasha's saying is, this person in their belief has the mindset that if we change the paradigm of the people that we are explaining that Earth was measured flat anyway, even for you to believe in your ball, this troll believes in, then that will cost people jobs. The world will stop. Devastation will follow. And therefore, this man is the one secret king out there to stop it all, fighting for justice, fighting for the American way. This man is Batman. Yeah?
Yeah, because another way, you have so many other topics, let's say demons, witches, ghosts, full of internet, full of that. Nobody is going there and protecting the earth from people who are posting things about demons, because nobody's going there and saying, listen, this, you will destroy. What are you talking about? Let's censor these things or everything what's happened with the flat earth. He doesn't need to. If he need to protect the earth, he needs to go somewhere. For example, Russia-Ukraine debate, and to find out how the peace. That could be good fight, for example. But here there is no danger. But I think that he feels some kind of danger. I don't know. And
no,
he's here to protect.
For a dweeb to
that.
feel like Batman, they need the righteous endeavour of fighting for the right to declare an elevation angle as curving. What a wonderful endeavour, Batman. I mean, what a noble cause. I mean, these people are dweebs, so they think they're fighting for a world that needs them to defend their adenoidal right to describe orbital motion. You're a boring little twat. Deeply unpleasant and boring. That's why we don't want to be around. It's not because you're just unpleasant. It's because you're deeply boring. Yeah, you think you've got to save the world from what elevation angle measurements? They're using them anyway. What are you going to save them from? But this dweeb thinks he thinks he's saving the world. Idiotic.
I like this approach. What you're saying. I don't want to ban him, but. It's enough, Nathan. You don't need to listen anymore this stuff, you know. What you want to hear? You want to hear some newbie who will speak about what? About Coriolis, about atmosphere, about what? What is the argument? Somebody will put it out and say, look, this is something new.
There isn't. But the people who are actually making the measurements, if they're in this arena, their measurements are folly also. Well, they're not actually building anything or developing anything. If they are, they're using horizontal planes of reference, perpendicularity, parallel lines from eye level, surface level, sea level. These things are all axiomatically required when actually doing anything practical with Earth, but none of them are changing. It's not like this dweeb's coming up with some revolutionary system that's going to change the way that the world functions. Far from it. He's only defending against his own fear that he's been propagandized with. Now, I'm not going to pity this person because they're not pleasant. If somebody actually was honest and expressed their fear, well, my concern is that if everyone found out Earth's flat, which gets blamed on me, if you carry on with your lies and deceit, then you put in the danger of the NASA jobs, whatever bullshit they believe in, that they're potentially defending the world from. It's like, listen, Secret Gamma King, yeah? You're not going to change the world. You're not defending anybody. Nobody needs you to defend this ever so special knowledge that you feel that you've invested in carefully and wisely. Yeah, number one, the knowledge that you've acquired has established things like calendars and time structures. And that's it. It's not been put into any other useful practical application. Heliocentrism, beyond its control aspects, isn't used for anything. You name something that it's used for. It's not. There's an illusion that it's being used to travel out into a second law of thermodynamics violation, sky vacuum at 10 to the 17 torr, 10 to the minus 17 torr. But it isn't. That's a violation of a law of nature. So there's nothing to defend. You're not Batman. That Batman reference is a direct reference to Craig from Fight the Flat Earth channel, FTFE, Craig McNeil, who literally called himself Batman in one of his screen names. So in his mind, and these people all wear Batman logos and Superman logos, they think they're freaking superheroes. By what? Reporting a flat earther on YouTube to the police, calling up social services and telling them I beat my kids. You think you're a hero? Oh my God.
Yeah, he was just
Could
in here.
be,
I just timed him out. It seems like he's very freaking persistent, this Rob Noxious. He won't go away. You got to hear the things he's saying in chat about you. I came a little late. I just timed them all out. But this is threatening, and I need to know his name so I can report him to the police.
Exactly. These people are behaving in an antisocial way. In the UK, they are called antisocial behaviour laws. And you can have what is called an antisocial behavioural order, or ASBO, put upon you for behaving in this way online. Yeah? You go and look at the stats for people who've been criminally prosecuted in this country for behaving that way. And if you're like, not in my country, not at the moment. Where do you think all your laws are derived from? Where do you think they come from? If there's a pipeline for them to come down, it's from here. So I assure you, that is the way of the world in the future. How it's being dealt with here in the UK. Yeah? Antisocial behaviour isn't tolerated. And all you pricks are doing is behaving in an antisocial way because you're challenged about a belief in a sky vacuum and a mathematics that's been given you by the Roman Catholic Church. Do you understand how, when broken down, it sounds utterly pathetic? Not just pathetic, boring. Yeah? So for you to be obnoxious about a boring-ass topic that you're defending because you are in fear is sad. Now, while I can psychoanalyse this, dissect it, and point it out to a live audience, I don't want to be around the people engaged in that level of cognition. You aren't our friends. You hate us, right? Why the hell would we want to be around you, let alone answer any questions, deal with your concerns, explain anything for you? Go away and find like-minded people to be friendly with, people who like you. That's not us. We don't. We'd sooner beat the shit out of you after you've been told multiple times to go away. And justifiably so. Once you put an animal in the corner, they will eventually bite you.
They don't like us, Nathan, because we're the big kids telling them a little bit too soon that Father Christmas isn't real.
Yeah, get over it. There is no Easter Bunny. These people are just children. That's what they work on. When people fear bomb you, well, what do you think there's stories of Thea smashing into Earth to give us the timeline of an extended heat-based source at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth? Why do you think they do that? Because it instills fear. Keeps you under control. Fear controls you. So when you think that you've got to defend against something, that means you are scared. Like you've got to take affirmative action to alleviate the concerns, to relieve the danger that you perceive. So when you behave like you're Batman, it's because ultimately that is a direct consequence of fear. Now recognise what's in a lot of biblical and religious texts. The words, fear not. There is nothing to be concerned about. You don't need to express that fear onto a freaking YouTuber. You think that doing anything that has regards to Nathan Oakley or any of the panel here is going to actually alleviate your fear? You think we've put the fear of God into you that you're going to get smashed into by a planet, or that jobs will be lost, or that without your crusade against your own fear, something will be of a consequence to you? You're wrong. You're just living in fear. Get over yourselves. Fear not.
Maybe the more the abusers and callers, the more I'm attacks, it might just, might just curve that baseline of the elevation angle a little bit more for them.
You know how many fear nots are in the Bible?
A lot.
365.
It's one of the most phrased terms in the Bible, like most repeated terms in the Bible. Fear not.
You got one for each day of the year.
Yeah, but it's true. Most of what people's lives are consumed with is fear. Now, don't get me wrong. God's given it you for a reason, right? Because if it's not mind that bus, it's what bus? And then you're dead. So fear is critical. You need fear. It keeps you alive. But that primeval part of your brain that's hardwired to go, is that bus going to hit me? Is that a danger? Is that a cat in the woods that's going to bite me? Yeah, that keeps you alive. But it's also manipulatable, easily manipulatable. And that's what's happened. So we fear something and then we react to it. And in this case, we've got people rising up against what they think is a threat. What am I going to do? What do you think I'm going to do to you? Seriously. I mean, I don't get it. Sometimes it's beyond, my comprehension why people fear this. When we go through how an elevation angle works, how surface level's measured, what a mile is, you're like, why are you in fear? Oh, because you've been propagandized. Recognise where the fear comes from. It's not here.
I had one of them say to me once, "All right, I'll give you the flat Earth. Just don't take my space away."
Well, geographically, though, they know what we know. They had the same understanding taught to them of what an elevation is, of what sea level is. They know better. It's not our fault.
Shout out to Unitox Femu, who says they pushed me here. It's not my choice. Oh, fair enough.
But going back to your daughters, Nathan, and the Father Christmas example, and, we're doing a little bit of that anyway. Well, if you want your globe, have it. Like your eldest is doing with the youngster. She's going along with that lie, yeah, because that's what she's doing, and that's what we've probably all been involved with, and that's what you're suggesting we do, and that's what we're sort of that's this turning point now. If you want your globe, have it. Keep it for a bit longer if you want. When you're ready, you'll realise the truth.
Yeah, but that's not enough for them. I've been trying it. It's not enough. They want more. They want you to stop saying it. They don't want it. They don't want Nathan to have a show. This show must stop. There's people that get together and put complaints in and try to get the show taken off YouTube. I mean, it doesn't stop.
Just stop coming to the show. Just go and have a game of golf or something.
No, they don't want that. They don't want this show being heard because they're doing society a favor by getting the retards that think we live on a flat earth off the airwaves. They're superheroes.
So they went ahead and got rid of all those celestial navigation and geodetic surveying channels. They've got to get rid of all them too, huh?
Those channels don't say that Earth is flat.
They fundamentally bend the compass, yes.
Yeah, but they don't say it. They imply it, they demonstrate it, but they never say it.
Right, rather than trying to do it, because I ballsed up the introduction 3 times today to my Uncut and After show, because I was trying to shout out a new Patreon, Pablo de la Cruz, who I can say without thinking about it, but I was reading it off. It was even more difficult than ever. I've never done 3 takes in the entire 2,500 shows, but today I did, because I was trying to promote the fact that you can have your name mentioned in an acknowledgement section of the upcoming book if you join at that tier level, which is be in the book tier level on my Patreon, which is linked below this video. But I have actually made a pre-prepared video, which has gone out in a long form format. Let's say it was 8.5 minutes long, but I've also made a short form format video, which took a lot more editing, to be perfectly honest. Took a lot longer to actually produce in spite of being the much shorter video. But rather than trying to do that call to action now, this short 3-minute shorts video, which is currently members only, does actually explain it. There is a link to my Patreon below this video, and if you did want your name to be acknowledged in the upcoming All Roads Lead to a Flat Earth book, then simply join at the £25 level on Patreon. So that link is below this live stream as we speak, so you can join. And as Pablo de la Cruz has already done so, I'm starting off this promotion in regards to acquiring a few more Patreons on a very high and positive note, given that Pablo's joined for an entire year, so that he specifically can have his name mentioned in All Roads Lead to a Flat Earth. So as we round out this live show, I'm going to play that particular clip, and then I'll round out and thank the panel and Discord once more. Want to be named in the book? Just join on Patreon at that tier or above. Inside, not on. All roads lead to a flat earth. Simply join at the link below on Patreon at that tier membership level, which is called Be in the Book. So I'm very grateful to all of you who do support me on Patreon. That's when people were asking me, can I have my name in the book? It's like, well, if you just gave me $100 and I stuck your name in the book, that's kind of just giving me $100, and obviously $100 is great, but it doesn't necessarily represent any ongoing support. Started?
Yes.
Good news! If you are one of the people who has asked me if you can have your name in the book All Roads Lead to a Flat Earth, then you're in luck. You must join before Easter. The caveats are also on Patreon, so if for the sake of argument you use an indecent name, obviously you won't be at £50 and £100, and I've had an extra tier at £25 basically, which is called Be in the Book. So once again, if you did want to be named in the book, just join on Patreon at that tier or above. If you did want to be extra generous, you can join at a higher tier, and obviously your name will be added. And just don't have a dirty name or an indecent name that wouldn't be appropriate. Currently taking Eleanor to her art class. Say thank you, Eleanor.
Thank you.
It's because of all the wonderful support I receive from all the people on Patreon. I am very, very grateful to all the people who have supported me over the years on Patreon. It has been invaluable. It's so important to me to have that financial support via that particular means. It kills two birds with one stone. I get to increase my patronage, and it's the ongoing support that keeps me going, another source of revenue to keep the lights on. I'd say all of that again, just in case the first 3 times I said it weren't clear enough. If you want to be a named participant in the book, All Roads Lead to a Flat Earth, then simply join at the link below on Patreon at the Be in the Book tier level or above. And if you are an existing member of Patreon, you will already be named. So you just join for a nefarious intent, then I reserve the right to not have your name put in the book. Unlikely though it is that I will exercise that right. Anybody who joins at either the Be in the Book or above tier will automatically go into the book. And if you are currently an existing patron at any tier level, your name will automatically be entered into the book. And if you are one of those people who are already a Patreon member at any tier level, make sure that you are happy with the name that appears currently on Patreon. Good news! Right, that's pretty much that. So with that, I will say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow.
No. It is funny where we are at the moment, isn't it? It's like, just the way we are at the moment, it's like you say, this turning point. It's very interesting. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, it's because you can let them believe whatever you want, but they still need your worldview basically to affirm theirs. It's a you can't lose scenario.
Yeah, exactly. Which makes their opinion in the matter inconsequential. Like no amount of convincing yourself at my detriment is going to have any bearing on how an elevation angle works, how sea level is utilised, how elevation profiles are formed, how we map the territory, how charts are implicated, how areas of equal elevation are utilised, how parallel eye level is. None of these things will change because you've had a discussion with me, will they? You need all of them to believe you're on a ball.
Yeah, the only thing that changes is their psychological, the psychology. I can't think of the word I'm trying to use. They change psychologically, and I've lost the other bit I was going to say now. So go on, John.
I'll take your time, man. I'm just going to say, I lost it too. Never mind.
I was going to say, you know what, I've forgotten as well.
Neil, what were you going to say that you might forget?
Got where the mute button is.
Yeah. Yeah, the only thing they changed mentally, psychologically, and then, like I said before, they've got to change the definitions, haven't they, and meanings to in order for their belief to work. That not that it is changing. They psychologically, mentally do a mental gymnastic in the head about this elevation angle. Like MC Toon replied to me, he's measured the globe himself using elevation angles. Now, he knows that's not true. We all know that's not true, but he has to say it. some psychological reason, he has to say that.
Yeah, and I think that's where the entertainment value from flat Earth debate will come in moving forward, like analysing these cretins. I don't know either, but it'd be fun looking at them from the outside and analysing why they behave like that. People love talking about people. It's lowbrow, but once you've moved past the highbrow aspects, fart sniffing and boring that they are, you can get into the fun elements of things like people and their behaviour. People enjoy that far more than talking about orbital motion and fourth dimensional pseudo geometry and field equations, right? Those things are all boring. Why is this person suggesting that there's guns there when he's making flat Earth measurements? That's much more amusing. As soon as my wife gets back, we'll do the last chapter of the book. It's just, hopefully the conversation can keep going till she comes back. 1:30 she started the group. What time is it now? 3:00. Yeah, she'll be back any time. Like I say, as soon as she is, we'll be ending the show.
What chapter are we on? What chapter is it? I've not been in them all.
It's chapter 12.
I've lost track of it.
It's chapter 12 of the main chapters. So this one's any evidence you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved adjacent. That's the name of the chapter. But that's the only chapter that needs doing anything with now. From memory, we did all of the anecdotal chapters on Friday. We finished off the one about the rumpus and changed his name to the disturbance.
Disturbance, yeah, I was in on that one a little bit.
Yeah, that was the last anecdotal. Yeah. Or is there another one? There might be one more anecdotal chapter as well. I can't remember. I have to double check with my wife when she gets back.
Well, we've been asking that question about the elevation angle without, from a curved baseline for how long? I don't think everybody's. I mean, it's a ridiculous question, isn't it? It's absolutely a ridiculous question to ask.
Yeah, all of the housekeeping questions are.
Yeah, just goes against its axiomatic principle for one. It's just,
who's there in the chat?
It's impossible.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, go on, mate. Try it.
I was just going to ask who's there in Discord, because I want to go and check on my iPad charger and then inform Craig what power it is. Anybody there in Discord to keep the conversation going for 5 minutes while I run and get a charger?
I'll just talk crap with Neil or John or somebody. Talk about elevation angles if you want.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Anybody got any evidence of an elevation angle from a curved baseline? I mean, that's what a sextant measures, elevation angles. And we was told a few years ago that a sextant only works on a globe. But it's specifically designed to measure elevation angles, and you can use sea level for the horizontal baseline and get a radius distance between two GPs, one being the observer's eye once it's down to sea level and the GP of the star or the sun. That's the radius for the circle of equal altitude.
Yeah, it's a fundamental building block for globe belief. 30 watts. Very good. I'll be right back. I've got to plug it back in. Otherwise, the wife will be furious when her work laptop doesn't have a charging brick.
Yeah, so anybody else want to have a chat about anything?
I want to know how Rob Noxious keeps getting back in this freaking chat. If he's banned from it, how does he keep getting back in?
These muscles, mate.
Because I was just about to say, like my calculation using your measurement, when you change the measurement in the calculation, it doesn't work. So your measurements are wrong.
The measurements are off. You got to throw them out there. Sorry. That's just the way it is. I don't care what they're measuring you off to the protractor, how they're misdoing it, or and they're not doing it correctly. That's their problem.
Excuse me, Neil. If a degree is an angle, you've got 360 degrees in a circle. How do you work that one out?
I don't. I just know it's measured flat, so I don't waste my time with that.
Exactly. I mean, we're talking about the surface of Earth.
How do
Sorry,
you
go on.
rationalize, though? How do you rationalize calculations debunking a measurement? I still
You
can't
don't.
get my head around that.
You don't, and they do it all the time. It's a joke. I put the illustration together with ceiling tiles in one room. The other room could be identical, but I can't go off of the calculation from the other room if it doesn't match up with the measurement. Do you know what I'm saying? Refracted.
Yeah, I do. It's a point that they just kind of whistle past and ignore the
Well, it's not-
measurement.
Listen, we
It's
did a
just an
school one
estimate.
time. 1 second. We did a school one time. And to drop a tape measure on all of these rooms would have been taking up so much time. So what we did was we calculated how many ceiling tiles were in each room, right? And that's how we got the measurement that we needed for the amount of tile that we had. But when we went into the rooms as we were doing the job, we still would drop a tape measure, and some of them wouldn't line up, so we would have to make an adjustment. But you have to go by the measurement, not by the calculation, is my point.
Yes.
Well, calculations are a good approximation for measurement, but it doesn't debunk measurement ever.
Correct. And in some cases, it won't line up with the measurement. So you have to remeasure and you have to make an adjustment. But you will adhere to the measurement, not the calculation. Because if I adhered to the calculation, I would have been short in a lot of the classrooms.
You would have been what in the
Oh,
classroom?
come on, Neil. You would have gone in there and you would have changed the size of the room to fit what you've calculated. That's what everybody does. That's a joke.
I laughed.
No, I would have just added more tile most of the time. A lot of times it was short, which if it's short, you're fine because then you have more tile.
Of course, if you've got a 14-foot room and you want to put 15 foot of tile down on that floor, then 15 foot will go down. You can just fudge it, right? You can easily get 15 foot of tile into a 14-foot room.
Yeah.
No. What you would do is you would add more tile.
Saying that though, if you measured the length and the width of a room with a tape measure, so you got the length and the width. The volume is in a calculation, isn't it? Is it?
It's length times width divided by 9 to get your yardage.
You need
if you want
height
to do
for
it in
volume.
yardage.
Yeah, but
If you're calculating volume,
Length
it's all
times-
3 dimensions.
What's that?
He asked volume. He didn't say area. He
I didn't
ask
hear
for
him.
the square footage. He asked for the volume. Volume is length times depth times breadth.
I don't do those measurements on my floor.
No, you don't need volume. You're not making a fish tank.
You don't calculate when you're doing a floor. You're not going to calculate for the height of the floor.
No, you don't need
You're
the
just
volume.
doing-
You need the square footage.
yeah, that'd be the calculation, wouldn't it? But after you've took the measurements of the length and the width, yeah, the calculation of the area. That's the calculation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you need the correct measurement in order to get your calculation correct.
Correct. Well, sometimes you deal with volume, but then it's usually after the fact. You know, because sometimes you put a carpet in that's too high and the doors won't close. Well, that's no big deal. Take the doors off and cut the bottom of the doors out.
No idea what you're talking about.
If you buy a carpet, a nice plush carpet, Nathan, you put it down on a tile floor, your doors are opening and closing. Your bathroom door has been working fine with the tile. You put padding and a nice plush carpet, the door won't close because you brought the volume up. You brought it up too high. So you have to take the door down and cut as much as you need. So the door will close.
I'm just hearing you broke my door.
No, it's not a broken door. It's a normal. It's a door procedure.
Worked fine before you got here. Before you did anything.
Well, yeah, it worked fine on a tile floor.
I think we should pay you less.
Wouldn't it be easy? Rather than take the door off, wouldn't you just open the door and then just chop all the carpet off under the threshold of the door?
A lot of people don't want to do that, and sometimes when you got steel doors, you can't. So you try to pull the carpet back and then maybe feather out the padding. But eventually, you're going to see that slope down as time goes on.
Slope as in rise over run, mate?
Yeah, slope.
Sometimes described as relief.
Nathan, I want to know how you got the steering wheel on the right side of your vehicle. How'd you do that? Did it take a day?
How we drive here in Japan.
So Japan, they have it on the right side too?
Yes.
I don't even know how that would. I guess I would.
You're using the wrong word.
It.
The word is correct side.
Why is it correct?
Because that's how we do it. It's British.
Well, now let me ask you a question. I'm sure you've come to America or a place where they have the steering wheel on the left. Was it an adjustment for you?
Yes, I've been to England part 2.
Was there an adjustment or was this like fine?
What, when I rented cars in the States?
Yeah.
You just sit on the other side. You just use the opposite hand to not change gear with.
But it wasn't different driving at all? Same thing?
The only story I've got in terms of how it was different was when I went to a hurricane party in Key West, and after the hurricane had passed, we had to go and pick up a Corvette that we'd locked in a garage. And I can't remember why we had to rush, but I was turning left, right, to be crossing traffic at a crossroads. And I said to myself, my brother was sat with me at the time, I was like, I can beat this light. We're in a Corvette. So when the light changed green, I stamped on the accelerator and the back end lit up and the rear end of the car almost sideswiped the traffic on the opposite side of the road as I went round the corner in smoke with the wheels spinning and me and my brother going, because we thought we were going to smash the back of the car against the front of the vehicles on the opposite side of the road on the crossroads, waiting to come the other way that were about to start like we had. But I don't think that had anything to do with being on the wrong side of the car in terms of the steering wheel's orientation.
I've never drove on the opposite. I've been to Australia, but that's the same as UK. But I've never drove in Spain or France or anything like that.
You get used to it pretty quickly because you just follow the traffic, and most places don't have roundabouts as common as we do, and that's generally the main place for confusion. So whenever I'd go wrong on the opposite side of the road, it'd be in Germany or somewhere like that, when I would be confronted with a roundabout and I'd be like, oh, which way do I go around this again?
Yeah.
But for the most part,
that's what's in my mind.
they're less common. So you just follow the flow of traffic. So you get to a crossroads, and like here, it's labelled the lanes that you can be in. So it's intuitive. That is to say, it's just as intuitive to be on the opposite side of the road, and you get used to it pretty quickly. There's just a few exceptions where it can be for a few seconds confusing. Now, I'm sure I told my story only recently about going on the autobahn the wrong direction. But that was in the middle of the night when very drowsy and having been in Germany for, I don't know, an hour or two, picking up a couple of other reps, or my distributors, I forget which. Yeah, it was my distributors. No, I can't remember. Whoever was in the car with me pointing out after coming back off the autobahn that the reason the sat-nav had put a giant, great big, like, no entry sign on was because I was going in the wrong direction.
All roads lead to a flat earth, mate.
For the most part, it's fine. Just driving on the wrong sides. It's easier if you've rented a car when you're there, because then your steering wheel's the other way around. Whereas if you're in your regular car that you've taken across to Europe, it's a bit more difficult because you are orientated opposite to the flow of the traffic. So obviously, with you being on the side where you're closest to the centre line, your visibility's optimised for that style of driving in that country. Whereas if you put the wheel, it's like driving in a left-hand. Have you ever driven in a car with a left-hand drive in the UK? Suddenly you can't see what's coming the other way, and turning right becomes a pain in the arse. You know, just there's certain inconveniences with having the steering wheel on the wrong side of the car for the road's conditions. Well, that's obviously the same if you take our cars to Europe.
Yeah, I've always wanted to. I've always been dubious about it because I've always one thing I've always wanted to do, and it's not a big deal. It's just get like a bit of a camper van and just head down, just either get on the ferry or a tunnel and just get into France or Spain, have a drive around and stop at a couple of campsites or whatever. Just see what happens where you end up. But I'm always thinking, oh God, I've always been nervous about driving in Europe.
Which bit of the camper van would you take?
Lessons somehow. Sorry?
Which bit of the camper van would you take? The tent? You said I've always wanted a bit of a camper van. I just wondered which bit.
yeah. Well, I'd take the steering wheel, definitely. But yeah, no. Somebody who knows. They've converted like a van themselves, and it looks quite good. And they're doing a little bit of touring about just in the UK at the moment, up to Scotland and Wales. But he said, if you want to maybe borrow it. And so I was having this conversation, and it was the same conversation with him, saying, "Oh, I've never drove on the other side," and roundabouts came into it, and he's done it, and he said it's fine. You'll just naturally get where you're going. But yeah, so I might give that a go soon. Yeah. A lot of people are doing that now. I've noticed there's a few people I know, or a few people locally, they're buying these vans, like big transits or sprinter vans, and just doing it themselves.
Dell did
ripping
it.
the back out. And
do you see that Dell, the last interaction that someone showed me from Beyond the Imaginary Curve was Dell acquiring what looked like an ex-police wagon?
He made that into a house, right?
Yeah.
That'd be good. Yeah, I think some people do it with like old ambulances or
people are doing
like
it a
small...
lot now with those sprinters. The Mercedes Benz, they get the very high top.
Yeah, that's the one. The guy I know said I might be able to borrow it at some point. That's the one he's done or doing.
Yeah, that was one of the vans that I used to drive when I was delivering groceries for Tesco, with a giant fridge on the back.
Yeah, bloody big vans then.
I can't remember how many tons, 3.5 tons, something like that.
Nice day here today. Nice spring day in Manchester for a change. No rain.
Sweet.
Yeah, 17 degrees, blue skies. Everybody's out.
Yeah, it got
A bit
cold in
more happy
Alabama.
with
It's 80
this.
degrees one day in Alabama and 30 the next.
Yeah, it's been a bit like that here. You know, you think spring's in the air a little bit, and my partner,
You
she
know
gets
why,
all
right?
excited and starts.
You know
Go on.
why, right? The cloud seeding. It's the government. that,
I knew that was coming.
I mean, they
freak.
lie about everything.
Oh, God. You know that when you say this, if you've got to put more of a sarcastic tone into it, Neil.
Yeah, because we think you're being serious.
You never know. I could be one. I could be a believer in that stuff. I could be a guy
Well, they
that
don't make
secretly
clouds.
thinks he could change the world.
Yeah. Yeah, it can all drive you mad, can't it? We've all, we've all been down the rabbit hole at some point. It can drive you mad.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. But you know what drives you mad? When you refuse to get out of the rabbit hole and think that if you keep digging down, you're going to find the truth. Because after all, everybody lied. So that's why they keep digging down and down and down and down. And then you wind up just a conspirator. That everything's a lie.
But you could, yeah, it's like that guy I've told you I've met, where he's like, he was the other way around. He got into the flat Earth, and then I was talking to that about him. He said, and I was on about. He said, "Well, yeah, but you know it's flat now. What you arguing? What you on the keypad? What you're on the keyboard for? Arguing with people about it."
Got a good point.
Yeah, he had a good point, but then I told you before, he's getting his phone out and showing me like pictures of, I can't remember where it was now, some mountain range, which is a dragon.
Oh, well, then that's projection.
It's as big as the...
So if the question immediately to be put back to him is, well, if you're content that you're on a ball, why are you showing me this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Projection. Oh, well,
No,
if you know it's flat, why are you having the conversation with me? Now look at how ball-shaped it is. Trust me, it's a ball shape, bro.
No, I mean, what I mean is he's a flat earther. He realises if he's flat, but once he realised that, he was happy.
I completely misunderstood.
Now he's into other... Yeah, no. So he's a flat earther, and I was going on about it, and he was saying, well, I was telling him about... I don't know the conversation. He said, well, why are you arguing with people about it? Which is correct. This is where we're at with it now. I said, well, yeah, you've got a point, really. He said, yeah, just move on now. You don't need to spend all day arguing with people about and telling them how flat it is and all that. And then in the next move, he got his phone out and he said, look at this. And he's zooming in. I can't remember where it was now. He said, this is a dragon. You can see the spines of the dragon. Yeah. And you can tell by the rock formation, the red rock is the blood. These are the bones and the spines of the dragon. And the size of that dragon is probably 6 miles long.
No way.
Yeah. But it did look like a dragon, to tell you the truth.
Why are you talking about?
That's right, Neil. I couldn't agree more. 100%.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth, mate. But then, not that I'm into that, but what I'm saying is when he showed me, I was looking, I did take a little bit, because I was sat with him and I was having a drink, and I said, oh yeah, let's have a look then. And I thought, there's the head, and he was mentioning some dragons' names from past thousands of years. This is such a fancy cool or something or other. And but I'm looking, and I could actually, when I'm looking, I'm thinking, it does actually look like a humongous dragon half the size of that continent. I can see what he's saying to me, and then he showed me another one. Now, I mean, obviously, somebody else could have thought, well, yeah, forget flat Earth, I'm going to get into this now. And then you're off on the dragon hunt.
Then after that, they'll show you the melted buildings.
Yeah, and then it's the Mandela effect. Oh, did I mention the clone centers?
Yeah, then you're off, and now you're digging deeper and deeper and deeper down that rabbit hole.
And bang, flat Earth's there somewhere.
Well, that's where they buried it. You're right. Weren't you having a conversation with some lady or something about conspiracies, and then she brought up to you? Have you heard about the flat Earth?
Yeah,
That
can't
was,
remember
that
how it
was
went now,
you on
but
deck, right?
yeah, it was what we were saying. I don't know how we got onto it, but I think we were talking about the vaccines and stuff like that. And I said, oh yeah, I went on a few of the bloody parades and things like that when it was all going on, and I was sort of like, but you know the score. So we were talking about that, and then she mentioned something else. It was like, I think it might have been, I don't know, the moon landing came up. So all of a sudden, I'm just talking to this work colleague. It's just a lady in the shop, and the moon landing come up. She's talking about the vaccines. So we were just having a general chit chat in the back warehouse where the deliveries come in, and then she went, "Oh, you had something about, are you one of them who believes in flat Earth as well?" So as soon as we talked about 2 or 3 conspiracies or the vaccines and the moon landing, and we were just having a general chit chat about these things, it was like, "Oh, are you one of these who believe in flat Earth?" I think my answer was, well, I didn't go into it and say all that. I just said, well, I have looked into it, and actually, that's the way Earth is measured, and left it at that.
Yeah, but it's weird though how it's lumped in with conspiracies. Very strange.
But I think, because I think she mentioned the partner during this conversation. She went, "Oh, my fella's as bad as that, into all that." So I wouldn't be surprised if her fella's actually a flat earther, and she's a little bit scared to sort of bring this subject up.
There you
because
go.
it's like,
Yeah, now you're
Yep.
proving Nathan's point from the beginning. Women just want things calm, and want things like organized and safe.
Yeah, a bit, yeah. They want the family right, everything sorted out and structured like that. And if all that's okay, everything else is okay. Which is correct, really.
You know what I say when people ask me if I believe in flat Earth? I say, you don't need to believe.
I'd agree with that. It's not a belief.
Yeah.
Just plain and simple.
Yeah. It's only a belief
Like
until you get to the point where you know and can explain how it's actually measured.
It's like walking with your dog and somebody's saying, "Do you believe in dogs?" "Yeah, I got one right on a leash." It's not a belief. I know it.
Like you say, we're in a turning point now, and it's a nice time because it is a little, I suppose I've wanted it to be like this for a while because, all the arguing and shouting and not that there's any argument or debate, but you're getting yourself stressed out and getting involved with these chats, and it drags you down. And Nathan's right. It's flat, and now we can analyse these people maybe to how, why they're reacting like they are. But if you can just accept that Earth is flat and you don't have to go around arguing the toss about it and get yourself stressed out about it, yeah? Not saying you don't have to ever talk about it again or explain to people who are interested, yeah? That can happen, and we all talk about it together. It's not going to go away. We've been speaking about it for the last 2 hours today, even though we all know it's flat and there's nothing. We've come up with some really good points, and it's the conversation still goes on. But it's more relaxed now because we're not having to try and force this issue or make somebody see that this elevation angle can only be obtained from a horizontal baseline and argue about that for 3 hours. When it's obvious what an elevation angle is, and it needs a horizontal baseline, and that baseline can be sea level. That's what's used when you're out in the ocean. So I don't have to. I say it a few times. What my thing is in my head, and I can't put it right, that when we say Earth is measured flat, I mean, that's correct, but we could actually say Earth is the fact that Earth is flat determines how we measure everything else. Yeah, not that Earth is measured flat. Earth is flat for all other measurements to be measured from. Do you understand what I mean? I'm just going one deeper with it. I'm not saying the Earth is measured flat. I'm saying the Earth, everything is measured from the flat Earth. Am I talking crap or what?
No, you're making sense. You're actually going the opposite direction. You're adding redundancy to emphasise the importance.
I just couldn't put it into good words, but yeah, the fact that the Earth is flat is the fact that's where all the other measurements come from. It's flatness. It is flat, and that flatness is used for all other measurements.
So I watched. Did anyone watch that? Sorry, did anyone watch that Richard Voigt's interview that somebody put it up on Master B?
No.
But anyway, it was pointed out that that the Earth was measured flat, and the first reaction is always that, well, if that's the case, then where's the edge? And I want to answer, why would you imagine there's an edge? Why do you think there's an edge? It's a bit of a strange, ridiculous question. But I suppose if you think about it, if you said, well, that space is never-ending plane, which they claim it sort of is, then where's the edge of space? They don't seem to think that has an edge. But I just think the idea we have to even entertain the question. When somebody says, where's the edge? I just laugh. I go, where did you get that from? Some crazy notion in your head, not mine.
Wait a second, they got the edge.
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Yeah,
where'd you get what do you mean, your edge? That's what he's saying.
No, but Nathan used to say it about the boats falling over. That's their edge, when the boats fall over.
Yeah, they need to put to us that we require an edge because they have an edge to defend. So it's easier to go on the offensive in that regard and say, what about your edge? Because their physical geometric sphere edge is the one in the Earth curve calculator derived from flat Earth measurements. So it's much easier to put you on the back foot and ask you about your edge. But Craig's response isn't exactly that. He's saying, when they ask you, well, if Earth is flat, where's the edge? It's like, well, your edge that you've just created in your mind? Because I haven't suggested there's an edge. You just have, though. That's what Craig's point is. Regardless of what their globe edge is.
Flat things usually have an edge. Hello? I look at my book is flat. There's an edge to the book. All right? So it's not something stupid. You're supposed to have an edge. If your Earth is flat, I want an edge. Actually, I want 4 edges.
Well, that's good. I mean, I defer to your requirements in that regard. I mean, obviously, your need for an edge is paramount importance. I can understand it entirely. And
so you can't provide an edge. Thank you very much.
I wish you every success in your hunt for the edge that you think that there is or want to find.
So we agree. So we agree that there is no edge.
I haven't agreed to anything.
The logic is,
you agree there's no edge. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just lead into it, Craig, much better. Yeah. If that's what you think we've agreed, then I'm glad to, again.
Go ahead, Refracted. I heard you. They're just talking over you.
the logic to that is, if no edge, then ball.
Yes,
That's
you're
correct.
not wrong.
That's correct. You're telling me Earth is flat. Everything I see flat has 4 edges, except for my pizza, which is round, and we could dispute whether it's round or rectangular. But you got to give me an edge. Come on now.
So if no edge, then ball.
Yeah,
That's
fair,
why.
yes.
yes, and I'll have your kids off you if you don't agree.
So the horizon is
Exactly.
not. The horizon is not the end of a radius value.
Yes, it is, and I'll fight you to the death to prove it. Have you not seen Earth curve mathematics that are derived from flat Earth measurements? That means we've got an Earth curve edge, goddamn you. Agree or I'll have your kids.
So then the logic is not if no edge. You see what I mean? kind of going to. There's no sense to this.
Right. If my position stands, then there isn't an edge. Therefore, your position stands where there is an edge.
Yeah, but if your position there is an edge for boats to be obstructed by, then it can't be your position.
Ah, I see.
Well, if there is an edge, it must be further than 5,400 miles from the zenith of Polaris.
Oh dear. You didn't go there, did you? You went to the measurements?
I'm no cartographer, but I'll have a bloody good look at it for you. Oh no, that's gynecologist.
That's all you flat earthers do is go to measurements. Measure flat, measure flat, measure flat.
Well, at least they agree with the measurements being flat.
That annoys them though, doesn't it? They used to actually enjoy interacting with us when we were the conspiratard idiots talking about 9/11. Then they actually relished their involvement. Now they're really angry with us. What, because we've got measurements of Earth being flat? Like the ultimate ace up our sleeve? Right, well, I'll raise you a geometric horizon. Well, I'll go all in on it's just measured that way. What you got? Nothing. You'll be giving me all your money.
Just talking about that, though, and the edge. It was funny. I think I told Neil the other week I popped into politics and AI Overglobe was in there. And I was just having a listen to everyone. And they was talking about...
Hold on a second. What did you call them?
AI Overglobe. I call that too.
So they was talking about something like some show. It was Flat Earth Dave they was talking about, and Professor Dave, and you should watch it. It's really good. This recent chat they had. So I just jumped in. I went, "Do you mean not Flat Earth Dave, who isn't sure that Earth is flat 100% without a doubt?" Just being a little bit like that. And AI Overglobe jumped in. Well, what was he saying? It wasn't funny with me. He was just having a conversation. But his point was, well, Dave is just sort of pointing out that the whole of the Earth hasn't been measured. So, it's not logical to sort of point out that Earth is measured flat because he doesn't know what the old Earth is measured as. I said, well, from what we do measure, it's flat. We use elevation angles and sea level. Earth is measured flat from the areas that we've measured, 100% without a doubt. Well, yeah, when you say it like that, but he was fighting for this not so flat Earth Dave, saying you can understand why he was saying, maybe not. Hence this AI Overglobe name.
If I measure every part of something to be flat, how can it be wrong that I say it's measured flat?
Well, John, there might be other areas that you've not discovered and measured. So, therefore, you're not in a position to say that Earth's flat 100%. Is what they were saying.
But that is the appeal to the unknown. I'm stating what is known. You're appealing to the unknown to debunk what is known? No, it's a special pleading fallacy.
Yeah.
Go away.
Yeah, that's what he was doing. That's what AI Overglobe was saying.
It always starts out with a special pleading from them. Seems like it every time.
That's all that we'll have from here on forth. Appeal to a future where there's a scenario not yet encountered that overcomes measurements. That's it. That's as good as they can muster. That's the last bottom of the barrel fallacy, isn't it?
It'll never happen. What is unknown will never debunk what is known. It doesn't work that way, ever.
No, but if you work on a premise that you can indoctrinate people into a belief where you can have parallel universes with alternative realities, that's where the idiots on the flat earth side that buy the ideas of things like Mandela effect don't appreciate that the ideas behind those notions are ingrained in this notion that you can have an appeal to the future or parallel dimension where something will alter what is fundamentally true now. And you're like, no, it doesn't matter if you're trying to take it into the mundane of a name on a book or something that's measured. If things are what they are, you can't change the past. And often, I think it was Paula that just basically described them as giving you this standard rhetoric of media black holing, what's the word? Memory holing things. Yeah. It's like, yeah, that's what the media do. They change their story and mind all the time. It doesn't mean that what they said originally isn't what they said originally. It's just a case that people who brainwash you and lie to you don't mean what they say and do what they say. They lie and then change their stories. And it means that often people will go along with the alteration like it's always been the case, like described in 1984. People are at war with Eurasia. They've always been at war with Eurasia. They're like, no, they weren't. What are you talking about? No, they have been. Shh. But yeah, that's the last barrel appeal to the future, or, how did you phrase it? Using things that aren't real to try and debunk things that are? Or using the unknown to debunk the known? How did you phrase it?
Special pleading.
No, but you said utilising the unknown to prove what is known, or something like that.
Using making a plea to the unknown to debunk what is known.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know that Paula put the Mandela effect into special pleading specifically. She may have done. I'll have to ask her next time I speak to her. But yeah, special pleading fallacy. What else have they got? I mean, in sincerity, the reason it's so quiet at the moment is justified. Being quiet isn't good from me from a YouTube perspective, but fortunately I've got something proactive to do to hopefully address that. But it's quiet because what's to do? How can you appeal to us? There's always been cracks, chinks in our armour, you might call them, that people could attack with various fallacious reasonings if they were complicated enough for us to have not investigated or unpacked as a fallacy. But beyond special pleading, what have they got to come at us? I think that's the reason it's so quiet at the moment.
Well, like with Toon, it's come back to me. Yes, one deck I have measured the globe using elevation angles. Now, I'm not going to bite on that. I might have done at one point, but maybe a flat earther might do and start having an argument with him about what an elevation angle is.
Yeah, he's trying to fish you. He's doing a little fishing right now. He's trying to draw a flat earther out. That don't work with us.
Yeah. No, it didn't work with me. Yeah, I said if you want to carry on with that measurement, you go ahead with it. You're still taking the tablets. See you later. And that was it. Didn't answer him back after that. Not getting into an argument about an elevation angle.
This is what that guy on that video from yesterday was saying, isn't it? Just agree with them. It's like, yeah, okay. You can measure two straight lines meeting at a vertex. Curved. Okay, good. Yeah, you're good with that. You have a good day. But that's not. They hate that even more. You're agreeing with them.
Yeah.
We haven't got the full sarcasm down pat yet.
No, but you're right. They hate the agreement part.
But that's what you're right, Neil. He's fishing. He wants to. If you could have got me to bite and take that bait, and all of a sudden got into a half-an-hour argument about an elevation angle and how a curved measurement is obtained from an elevation angle, spend half an hour on that, draining our energies, and zapping my energy, then I suppose he would have been happy about that.
Yeah, because it's a distraction from his cognitive dissonance. That's the only reason they argue. We can start This is what we're doing. I knew this would be happening. We're starting to psychoanalyze why they behave the way they behave, rather than addressing their arguments, because there is no fallacious reasoning to unpack. John just covered this beautifully earlier, right? Beyond special pleading, I'll ask it as a sincere question rather than a rhetorical statement of fact at the end of a conclusion. What can they come at us with moving forward? What area can they possibly exploit? What angle have they not already tried and failed with?
Well, they can't come with anything except for what was, fallacious reasoning or just absolute absurdity of changing definitions, which they've been doing for a while. That's it. Or attacking you personally.
That's where I was going. The only last resort is to try and shut you down, and then you can start pointing the finger back at them and laughing at the absurdity of what they're attempting, because they're in pain, and their pain comes from fear, as covered on the live show. So you go, well, why are you doing what you're doing, and what's your remedy? Attack a YouTuber? So you think getting rid of Nathan Oakley 1980 is a solution to this problem? You don't know where your fear's coming from now, do you? So we'll laugh at that. You know, justifiably so. Not like we'll report you to the police and then laugh at how we've got real men to try and take your channel down, because that's going to alleviate you of your concerns when it comes to the utilisation of flat earth prerequisites. Getting rid of a YouTuber? This is sad, isn't it, boys? Very sad. But if you can get the person in question, you in this regard, to argue for half an hour about elevation angles, that's much better. I'd say that's the lesser of two evils, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but you're right, Nathan. You're right, and I can picture him. If this is just me, you know, if he was to get rid of you, right, I can actually see them saying, "Yes, we've done it. We've done it." Not like that's the only thing they'd be interested in, getting rid of you. You know, oh, we've got that globe back now.
No, you'd be surprised. Yes, they'd cheer, but the celebration would last as long as the cheer did. Like it did with Ranty, like it did with Jose, like it did with Jaron. Can you still hear them cheering? I don't actually hear any cheering. How long does it actually offer them pain relief? Did the final experiment offer them finality so they could move on with their day? You know, we won. Yeah, Jaron was converted. We won. Did you? You still here, you bunch of dickheads? What are you doing? No, the final experiment part 2, Revenge of the Experiment.
Well, that's why that was the video I commented on to get the elevation angle comment back. It was I don't know the name. I didn't watch it all to say, so I'm not that interested, but I just flick through them sometimes. Some flat Earth guy had suggested that the on a sunset, the I can't remember what he said now. The sun's actual size would change. It would get smaller. So Pixoon went somewhere on his holiday and he got his P1000 out and he invited this guy with him and his video.
Hold on, didn't you say actual size? Didn't you just say actual size?
Yeah, that's what they were saying.
Actual size?
Yeah, the actual size.
Actual size is what you run over. You get that with a tape measure.
Yeah. So Mattoon had gone out of his way to video a sunset with using solar filters and all this, and showing that that's not the case. What this flat earther has said, because you can see that the size remains the same. Therefore, globe.
Size. Filming it with the camera, you're getting an apparent size, aren't you? So he's saying the actual size would change. This is the flat earther. And then the response is, well, the not actual size doesn't change. What, it doesn't change in not actual size? Oh, really? just idiots on idiots sometimes.
Yeah, so that he went out of his way. That so obviously the Antarctica hashtag sun wasn't the final experiment because McToon still, but he's using stupid flat earthers bloody reasoning and highlighting it. But then I think my question when I watched this video, I just said, "What is the elevation angle of that sun above sea level? Have you measured that?" And that's when that's all I put, and then you get I measured the globe with elevation angles.
Indeedy. Again, let's just start nodding along, but in this instance, it's hard to say that because you're proactively having a poke after watching. So, that's on you.
Yeah. I mean, I say this, and I said it before, more relaxed, but I keep my eye on a few things and just have a little comment, but I don't get involved with where I would have done a few years ago, going on and on and on for weeks, days.
Exactly, One Deck. I know exactly where you're coming from, One Deck. Used to be jumping in Discord, arguing back and forth in chat. Now it's like you don't even pay attention anymore. Something may catch your eye and it'll try to draw you to it. But in the end, I find myself waving at it and saying, what a waste of freaking time. I'm not doing this.
But that video was good yesterday. I watched a bit of it before Nathan went through it, but I wasn't on the show the full time because my work thing was a bit funny yesterday. But yeah, that type of stuff is good, and I think that's what we're all sort of saying, isn't it? A bit of psychoanalysis. Yeah, working out why these behaviours are just pointing out this now. I think it's very interesting. It is interesting. Doesn't mean that's all we talk about.
No, but that's where we're going. We'll be psychoanalyzing these people moving forward. Not let's have a discussion about how flat south is or how linear distance is. These things are axiomatically set in stone for their use to be applicable to anything. So it's like, why would we discuss these things anymore? You understand them if you're not stupid. We understand them. So it's just analysing you and your ball belief moving forward.
Yeah, trying to get to why they can't. Why are they denying evidence? Why are they so wrapped up in this belief? And in such ways that they're prepared to threaten people and threaten to kill people and have the kids took off them and just behave like animals.
Well, it's because they hate us. Because they absolutely hate us. It's right below the surface. Like the example I've been using recently is a guy who's in the chat now, right? Alpha Murphy. So he comes in reasonably polite, right up until the point that he's displeased with having to use flat earth prerequisites like directionality. Then he's calling me and Neil homos. Now...
Oh, he's back in the chat?
Well, I pondered whether or not to bring it up, but last time we had an encounter with this guy, I was like, go away, we don't like you. You're an unpleasant person to be around, like what I get accused of all the time. Like somebody who actually wants to call you and me homosexuals, Neil. We've never met, so how we could possibly be lovers is beyond me, but that's what they feel about us. Like they want to insult us, be unpleasant to us, but simultaneously demand answers from us. So we've said, go away. Don't want to be around you. Piss off. Is he here? Yeah, he's still here. Hanging around the cool kids that have flushed his head down the bog.
Oh, wait a second. I thought Alpha Murphy was leaving and going to his other favorite people on the other side of the spectrum that used to be part of the show. They changed their, how would you phrase this? Oh, they became thieves. I thought he went to those guys.
I don't know. I vaguely remember his departure talking about men he was interested in being around.
Yeah, he said he's going to the thieves. I said, well, don't let the door hit you on the way out.
No, but moreover, somebody who wants to accuse me of something that's not true, call us names, basically, regardless of what that name be, isn't somebody I want to be around, right? But he wants to be around us. He's in.
Yep.
Now, that is an interesting thing, generally speaking, to study, isn't it? Just to look at this what kind of a cuck wants to hang around people that despise him? You know, the kind of under-the-thumb cuck, like subservient, pathetic little fraction of a man. That kind of man wants to hang around people that despise him, like with every fibre of their being, hate him. But he still wants to hang around with those people, despite them hating him. Okay, what does that say for that person's self-worth, I ask myself. These things are worthy of analysing, because the people that have opposed us, the people that right under the surface hate us and want to call us names, they're scum. Like the lowest, scummiest, most vile people imaginable. Like this Alpha Murphy guy. Now, not only are they vile scum, they've got no self-worth at all. Like I say, they hang around people that utterly hate them. That you know, is a worthy thing to study from a psychological point of view. The discussion in regards to how flat this man eventually, after 15 attempts of talking to him about how flat directionality was, he eventually conceded. I think the words were, for the sake of discussion, or let's take it as read, or some weaselly, slimy, scummy acceptance of the absolute necessity for two-directionality and level to apply to directionality when using a compass. Took about 15 attempts with somebody who I don't want to hang around. But he's still here. Like low self-worth, just low-value men.
Nathan, the reason why, you hit it on the head when we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago. I think he's a flat earther, but he's still not sure because he's still caught up in this. But the sun is not in the right position, and it could be a globe, right? And he's not understanding all the flat measurements he's whistling by. And in case something goes wrong, he could blame you.
Yeah, too scared to take it upon himself to look at these things without quizzing somebody who he can blame and seem to be in opposition with, and hopefully find some pain relief to find his way back onto his ball, but without any responsibility. They're just cowards. Cucks and cowards who hang around people who hate them. Do these sound like the kind of people that you'd want to be around, Neil? Like, so let me get it straight. You're a cuck, you're a complete coward, you don't take responsibility, and you hang around people who hate you. We're talking about you, by the way, Alpha Murphy 72. You're in my voice chat. This is
Nathan,
the voice.
his wife gave him strict orders not to come off mute.
And maybe he's playing with another man's penis. Does your wife know you're hanging around playing with other men's penises? There's a silence, Alpha Murphy, while you're in a voice chat, you coward cuck. No. It's there to hang around people who hate you. I see. Very interesting. Skulk around in the corner while they insult you.
Yeah, he'll make up an excuse like, "Oh, I didn't hear you. I was doing work."
I'm doing work while it's in a voice chat. So retarded as well. Should we add retarded to the list? Doesn't realise he's wandered into a voice chat named FED Voice with little pictures of microphones. Alpha Murphy, I have a question for you. Are you retarded? You are in a voice chat. No, so this coward cuck is in the bogs, hiding in one of the cubicles, standing on the bowl, pretending that we don't know his ear? What a coward. This is what the representation of ball believers has just demolished itself into. Yeah? Of its own volition. It's of their own doing. Complete cowards, stood on the bowl, pretending that we don't see him in the end cubicle.
I know what he's doing. He has to be here because however he's streaming it to whoever he's streaming it to, you know, they put the word out. Well, if you leave, then I can't hear what's going on in the Uncut after show.
I'm more fascinated, regardless of you being a conspiratard, in terms of that association that you do not know and cannot prove, is why someone would hang around with people who hate them. I don't do that. As soon as I find that people have betrayed me, that they dislike me, you're like, well, why would I want to be around you then? But this guy has literally gone out of his way, like the dumbass he is, to join a voice chat to not talk and just listen to people describe him. Because most of the time we're describing the god-awful people and how they behave on his mindset, on his wavelength. People specifically like him being one of them. He's spoken to us after he took his brave pills. Do you need another 15 minutes of silence before you'll talk to us, Alpha Murphy 72? And you're going to take the brave pills? Man, if your wife's listening, last time your wife was listening, then why did you open your mic? Right, cuck? She's listening this time. You're getting called a coward because you're not a full man. You're not got the brave pills this time. Clearly not.
He's Fredo. I'm telling you.
Regardless, I'm going to round out because my wife's just come back so we can do a bit of book editing. So with that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. Why does this camera keep slipping out of position? I think this arm's knackered. Massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, joining as a Patreon if you did happen to want your name mentioning. Join at the Be in the Book tier or above on Patreon, links below this video. Massive shout out to Pablo de Cruz for joining as a member, specifically so he could have his name put into All Roads Lead to a Flat Earth. Another massive thank you to today's Discord and G Plus panels. I've been Nathan Oakley and I will see you all in the next video.
But when you measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If Earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken. We just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and vegs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.